It's Sunday, August 25th, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. Here we go, another 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes 20. Shoot for around 15 plus or minus every day. Talking to people, some number of people watch the show, and I'm hoping, it causes them to be open to opposing views, at least listening, focusing on the who, the what, the where, and the when. That's the facts, as opposed to the innuendo and bias and forecast and opinion and everything else that fills so much of our information cycle that comes to us. And of course, encouraging everybody to look at multiple sources of information, because the reality is there's a fair amount of bias in what comes to you through any single channel, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you're trying to get to the truth anyway. No different than if you had a bunch of kids and they were in a big fight, you weren't in the room when they had it, and you walk in. If you only listen to one voice, you're probably not going to get the truth. All right. So you go through these websites. Some of them are left-leaning, some of them are right-leaning, some in the middle. So I wanted to just touch on today's show about guns, okay, and gun violence. And as I go through here, I look at the Huffington Post. I don't see any major headlines on this, but CNN has a headline here: 7 people shot at a 2-year-old's birthday party. Okay. And then when I go to National Public Radio, it says that the Cody Firearms Museum in Northwest Wyoming has gotten a makeover, and it's moved away from being a monument to guns and toward being an educational space. Okay. Which sounds like a good idea. I'll explain why. Then I go to Fox News, and on the front page it says, according to Tony Perkins, whoever that is, solution to gun violence isn't what you think. And apparently he's a former cop. So he offers some opinions about we've lost our moral center, and teaching morals more would help. And then Breitbart features an article here. Beto O'Rourke is out there on the campaign trail as a Democrat for the trying to get the Democratic nomination for president. And he's quoted here as saying, "America has more guns than human beings," which is absolutely true. So what about guns? Well, the one thing that's, so some facts. There are many more guns than there are people in the United States, and that's changing all the time. In fact, the number of guns is increasing faster than the number of people in the United States, so that is a factual statement. The other thing that's absolutely true about guns is that they are incredibly powerful and effective. Okay, they are incredibly, as a tool or a machine, however you want to look at these things, they are incredibly powerful and effective. And what are they intended to do? Well, they're intended to kill or maim something. Okay, that's what a gun is for. So whether you're using them on a battlefield, or you're out hunting a deer or something, or trying to kill a bear, or whatever it is, a gun is intended to kill and maim. And modern guns, wow, they are unbelievably powerful and effective at doing just what their intended task is. Okay. So if you have a gun, or if there's a gun around you, you need to be very much aware that thing is incredibly effective at what it does. And if it discharges, okay, whether it's intentional or otherwise, the chances that it's going to have a life-altering effect is extremely high. So, for example, the rate of suicide by guns, the success rate, success rate. So if you are maybe in a state of depression and you're thinking about ending your life, and you take pills, or you try to hang yourself, or you cut your wrists, or whatever people do, they do all kinds of things. The probability for all of those things is fairly low that you'll be successful, because what happens is there's usually some time, and people will find someone that's trying to commit suicide, and for example, if they decide that they're going to breathe carbon monoxide, and so they go out in the car, out in their garage, and they start the car engine. Well, they'll be out there for a while, but very often a family member or a friend will discover them before they actually die from that. And with modern medicine, they're able to be resuscitated. Same thing for cutting your wrists and so on. But a gun, the success rate for suicide is really high. I don't remember the specific number. I want to say it's like 90% or something, where these others are, 10%, 15% kind of stuff. So if you have someone that is in any way even marginally concerned about suicide, and you're worried about them, don't have a gun around, because they would be extremely successful with it. And then we talk about gun violence, and we want to try to end gun violence, and the vast majority of discussion is around some kind of gun control, like legislation to limit the number of guns or the types of guns and so on. But as I've pointed out in the past, and in the show I'm going to point out again, it's actually a complex issue, and what we need to do to really address gun violence is multifaceted. Okay, it's not just, okay, if we get rid of assault rifles, that's going to help, or that's going to fix it, or whatever. No, it's absolutely not true. So there has to be a tremendous amount of community awareness. So we need to do public service announcements and community education around guns. Okay, so we need to be looking out for each other, and looking at each other, and trying to understand what the warning signals might be, for a neighbor or a friend or an acquaintance or something. If we see certain things, then we should be alerting authorities. And oh, by the way, there needs to be a national consensus on what's to be done when that happens. These so-called red flag laws, well, that's a good idea, but okay, now what's the details behind that? But anyway, so watching out for each other, that's a big one. Education. So if you're a gun owner, education on, gun safety and gun use, and preventing the gun from being stolen. There's on and on and on. There should be a tremendous amount of education associated with gun ownership. These are incredibly powerful, effective, tools meant to kill and maim. So education, big time. And then it's not just the guns. In fact, a lot of these mass shootings and stuff, it's actually the fact that there's these magazines that will hold 20 rounds or 100 rounds or whatever. So there's really no reasonable reason why any gun should have a magazine that holds more than, say, 3 or 4 shells. okay? Because there's really no, why would you need, I don't care whether you're on a, target shooting or hunting or whatever, you're not going to rip off 100 shots. You need to shoot, twice, once, twice, three times, or whatever. So that's a big thing. It's not the guns themselves, it's the magazines that we could also look at. And then a big thing that people don't talk about yet, but we only a little bit, is we need to look at the psychology around people that are, I will call them kind of copycat. I'm sure that's an oversimplification, but they're kind of copycat shooters. And so they see the stories on national media, and these people that have, at Columbine or Parkland, or you name Las Vegas, all these places, wow, these people become famous. And there's unfortunately a psychology, some kind of emotional, mental thing that it causes people to kind of copycat them, and so you'll get very often, if there's a shooting, there'll be more shootings kind of in close proximity in time, because some number of people that were thinking of it, the fact that someone has done it kind of causes them to go over the edge and try to do it themselves. So one of the big things that we need to do is get rid of a lot of the notoriety for the individuals who do these horrific acts with weapons. And then also there should be more regulation around who can own guns and the licensing of them. And so that should have like layers to it, just like in our when you have a driver's license. Just because you have a driver's license doesn't mean you can drive a semi. Okay, there's, depending on the size and weight of the vehicle and so on, motorcycles take a special license, and if you're going to be driving passengers, that takes a special license, and if you're going to be driving a big truck, that takes a special license, and it should. All those things require a specialization in knowledge and capability, and we should be doing the same thing with firearms. So if you want to get a single shot shotgun, that should require much less training and licensing and so on than if you want to buy a machine gun, an automated or semi-automated assault weapon, or a pistol, or some other weapon that's easily concealed, or if you want to conceal and carry, these kinds of things, or if you want to buy more guns than just 2 or 3 or something like that, or if you want to buy a bunch of ammunition, or a bunch of multi-shot magazines. All of these things, there should be it should be much more onerous to try to get all these things, depending on what it is that you're getting, and how often those things are used for improper purposes. And so, and I'm sure I'm overlooking 2 or 3 or 4 other things that we need to do to help fight gun violence. And so it's not, people just jump right away to gun restrictions and stuff like that, and gun licensing. It's way, the answer is a multifaceted thing that probably has 8, 10, 12 aspects to it. And oh, by the way, as in all things, all these serious issues that we face, we should always start by having, an open forum in the nation, where we say, okay, this is August, so let's say September, we're going to declare National Gun Violence Month. and we're going to spend that time in public forums talking about guns and their impact on society and the pros and cons of having them and having different types and but public forums, where we can all get up to the same speed on what is the reality around these things. Okay, and then once you're on the same page, then we can start talking about, okay, now here's all the things that potentially we could do, and which how much of them could be effective or not, how much do they cost to implement them, and so on and so forth. But it's all a dialogue based on a basis of the whole truth, right? The pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against, and hence the pro and con show. All right, well, so for Sunday, August 24th, 2019, I'm Michael James Ott. Another show tomorrow. Look forward to talking to you. If you have guns out there, be careful with them, please. Like I say, they are incredibly powerful, effective tools for maiming and killing. All right, so the end of the show. Bye for now.